Hello and welcome to Notes from a Small, Cold, Dark, Miserable Island. We work tirelessly through wind, through snow, through rain, mostly rain, to bring you some useful information about being a foreigner in the UK and some jokes too. It's actually mostly jokes. I'm Mike.
I'm Matt. Yeah, I don't think it has stopped raining since it became 2026.
It's
I
absolutely
haven't.
torrential out there.
Well, no, it never rains hard in this country. You never feel water fall from the sky with a force,
Maybe not where
anything
you
more than
live, but I tell you, last night it was like keeping me awake at midnight. It was strong.
like
It was strong.
actual pitter patter on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
windowsill.
But you're right. That's not the annoying part, right? I mean,
No, the annoying part is the complaining about the weather.
yeah, just walking through a cloud.
We're just continually being driven inside. And you know what amazes me is people who have lived here all their lives. There's just ability to not only not use umbrellas, but to not cover themselves at all, and just to be okay with being on the spectrum of moist to dampened to obliteratedly soaked all the time.
The last
Yuck.
time we were actually in the studio, you gave me an umbrella, right? And I was very struck by the fact that you were like, hey, where I work, people just leave umbrellas all the time, and I was like, that sort of it's very small, slightly broken umbrella that you gave me, which I really appreciate. I'm not dissing the gift, but I'm holding on to that for my dear life, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, umbrellas should be traded like gold bars in this country. But you're right. People just like plow through. They don't even use them. What's up with this?
Hardy individuals. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. I thought we should start this episode with
No guests this time.
No guests this time.
Just us in
but
our
we
homes.
We have a lot to talk about. And I thought we would start with a news update. Because there's been various interesting and particularly relevant news items that have shown up recently. You flagged one up that I think that from a personal perspective you've been following pretty closely, and I have not, for reasons that'll become apparent in a minute. The indefinite leave to remain debate. What is going on there?
Good question, Mike. I thought you, as the journalist, would maybe have a better handle on that. I just saw that it came up in Parliament 2 days ago, and there was a parade of MPs speaking about the change to, change the requirements for the length of time that an immigrant needs to be here before they can attain indefinite leave to remain. This morning I scrolled a bit through the transcript of that debate and was shocked to see that that there was not a single, Tory backbencher. Is that what you call a backbencher? What is a backbencher? This is a phrase that journalists use.
Yeah, never explain. A backbencher is somebody who is a member of parliament, but not in the leadership committee. So if they're in the ruling party, they're not in the cabinet. And if they're in the opposition, they're not in the shadow cabinet.
Gotcha.
People who have no actual power and are not actually in the cabinet, but would be if their party was elected, I guess.
So not a single Tory spoke on this in this quote unquote debate. It was just a parade of Labour and Lib Dems and independents saying, "Oh, here's an example of some hardworking, wonderful people who are constituents of mine who would be shafted by these retroactive changes, and this must be stopped." So it was just like this, echo chamber in the chamber. So I don't know whether there is going to, whether this, whether these changes have any life in them, whether there's a possibility, or whether this is another, thing that I've been uneducatedly griping about, Labor making performative moves towards tightening immigration in order to, I don't know, gain more voters from the right.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this very briefly before, and essentially the proposal is to double the time that you need to actually be in the country to get indefinite leave to remain, which is a pretty big deal. A pretty
Yeah.
big deal for a lot of people listening, because they may be approaching the 5 years, or maybe thinking about it even after a couple of years in this country. And suddenly it seems like, oh, well, I have to actually wait until for a decade, 10 years. In 10 years' time, we don't know who the government is going to be. And of course, if it's the reform people, they are not going to be very sympathetic, and they could change the rules further, or increase the income thresholds or whatnot. So it's interesting that you pointed out that a lot of the backbenchers are speaking against this, because this is one way that these kinds of things can get stopped, where there's enough opposition within the party internally that it just does not become popular. The backbenchers, or like individual MPs, generally are seen as being more in touch with the public mood than maybe the prime minister. And then they just lose sort of enthusiasm. I think a good example of this is probably the ID card debate, and the government has sort of backed off from this idea of mandatory ID cards, which has been repeatedly, I mean, it's like Groundhog Day. It's like repeatedly been floated by governments in Britain for decades, and has never come to anything. And it's just like, why don't you learn your lesson? There's enough people who don't want this stuff that it'll never fly. So maybe that's the case with this indefinite leave to remain issue. It's not something that has particularly exercised many people, even the reform people. Right. It's not as if
we did have in one of our earlier episodes we did have Farage saying he was going to eliminate ILR, but yeah, like you said, it hasn't really gained much traction. So I guess the lesson for potential listeners and all of our immigrant friends is that unlike our homeland, actually do speak to your representatives, because maybe they do listen to their constituents and voice their grievances when a hearing comes up relevant to their plight.
And like you say, I'm just sort of scrolling through this here. It's like they are bringing up specific instances, specific stories of, like you say, constituents. They love examples. These politicians, give them a good example. You're here. Right. You worked hard. You paid your taxes. Shouldn't you be allowed to stay? Right. You, the shining exemplar of this particular issue. I pay so much tax. I mean, I used to pay so much tax when, they paid me money and stuff. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to other taxpayers. This is another fascinating one. Should I explain this? It's about Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
It's not Mission Impossible.
So I didn't know this, but Tom Cruise, dun, 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 that guy. You know who Tom Cruise is.
You know who he is.
Highway to the Danger Zone. Show Me the Money. I'm talking about Tom Cruise. Jump on the Couch. So apparently he had been living in London for many years. So I don't know. This popped up on my algorithm. I had an artistic relationship adjacent to Tom Cruise for about a year of my life, when my wife directed about a play about the Tom Cruise-Katie Holmes relationship, written by the brilliant Brandon Ogborn. This was a play back in Chicago. It went to New York and LA. I don't know why I'm promoting it now, but I spent
Sounds
a
like
lot
it's
of
ready for a revival.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I had to have several addendums, but so I spent about a year of my life just like immersed in Tom Cruise world, watching lots of Tom Cruise movies, thinking about Tom Cruise, and So maybe that got, deeply into my algorithm. So I get fed this
Yeah.
story around January 25th. Tom Cruise abruptly, mysteriously leaves his Knightsbridge flat, and his staff members. He's got a whole team are confused why this is suddenly happening, and we're seeing them with boxes suddenly moving him out of his luxury flat overlooking Hyde Park. So the first story that I saw, this was around January 25th, doesn't really give any reasons. It's a mystery, and the story sort of connects it to, well, maybe this is because of complaints about Scientology activity in East Grinstead, Sussex, which is where Scientology has a stately home, where they have their yearly conference, and who knows what sort of Thetan clearing goes on behind those walls. Maybe Shelley Miscavige is there. Who know? We don't know. So this is the story. It's like, oh, it's quite a big mystery. Then a week later, now first of all, I didn't even know Tom Cruise was a London resident.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
he's like
I would
our
have been
neighbor.
going around Knightsbridge, just walking around, because this initial story was like, yes, he's a presence around. He's incognito, but he's in the neighborhood, and he loves to get a quaint coffee. Like, does he? Then a week later, a lot of outlets, mostly tabloid and or conservative outlets, pick up the story, and they link it to a robbery that has taken place at a Rolex shop near Cruise's flat, and then they link that robbery to a very highly publicized robbery from the previous week, that was the video of which was shown a lot on social media and whatnot, of some pretty audacious London thieves in the daylight going up to a jewelry store, sledgehammering the windows, and just taking stuff out of the display window. So this all adds up to Cruise leaves London flat because the city is not the same, and the city is getting so dangerous, and Cruise flees big bad scary London. When, I don't know, to me that's a bit of a, I'm just naturally suspicious of Scientologists, full stop. So, but it looks like a deflection to me, or like, a reason for.
I feel your skeptical tone is entirely justified here, because we should probably put the context. You mentioned this last time we spoke. I think you briefly mentioned this, and I was like, oh, that sounds curious.
Tom Cruise could have been the president of the American expats in London, and he blew it.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we're also assuming that this is all like, maybe he just moved into a different apartment. Maybe he wanted to move his stuff. I don't know. I'm assuming the guy has apartments all over the place.
Sure.
Right? Like, I'm sure he has multiple properties.
In the States, he's probably got, a penthouse in the Burj Khalifa, and he just climbs up there every day.
Yeah, exactly. But what really rang an alarm bell for me is, and it's really quite sort of telling about how, I guess, like, all the media works like this. The British tabloids had sort of the jump on everybody when it comes to this, but it's a game of a telephone where a story appears in, I believe, the Daily Mail or the Evening Standard, and then it gets repeated. There is no sort of insider who's directly quoted saying, yeah, he definitely left because of this jewelry robbery with the sledgehammer nearby, which doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? It's like, what kind of person? I mean, I know he's a weird person, and you have lived the weirdness, I suppose, through the project and the Funhouse Mirror interpretation that was dramatized.
Mm-hmm.
By
exactly. Good job, Mike.
Your wife.
Tomcat Project by Brandon Ogborn. Look it up. All right.
Look it up. But it just doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, it's like if a crime happens in your neighborhood, especially if you're like a rich person with loads of resources, you don't actually like immediately move if you like the neighborhood and if profess to love the neighborhood and love the country
Yeah.
for years. You're like, oh yeah, well, I'll just get a couple more bodyguards as I walk down the
Yeah.
street or whatever.
Let's say Tom Cruise is out strolling around Knightsbridge, having a lovely coffee. You know, he's taking a break from reading scripts, and lo and behold, he runs into some sledgehammer wielding jewelry thieves, and they, in the midst of their robbery, look to their left and they see, holy crap, it's the one and only Tom Cruise. Now, what's going to happen, Tom? Do you think this guy is going to like cock his arms like the guy who played Superman and start attacking you? What are you scared of? You're just gonna turn around the other direction, run really fast, pump your arms in that robotic way, and you're gonna get out of there. It's not a problem.
Or you could have one of those Mission Impossible gadgets, like the wrist gun or the laser eye thing. Oh wait, I'm thinking about James Bond. Maybe I'm getting this confused. Yeah, doesn't he have some sort of gadget that can actually like take care of these dudes?
Yeah, I checked out on the last 2 Mission Impossible movies. They got so convoluted, I couldn't stay awake.
Spider webs, right? And like
yeah,
cocoon.
Yeah, he
robbers.
shoots webs through his wrists is a thing.
It just doesn't make any sense. We do not know the story, and the poor sourcing of this it raises a big red flag. You mentioned the Scientology and the complaints in Sussex. Also, that was an interesting detail in this story, but it seemed pretty irrelevant to the fact that like he might be moving. The only thing that I could think of is some sort of, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of scrutiny on Scientology that is above and beyond all the scrutiny in Scientology that has existed for the past couple of decades.
Yeah,
it's
made
interesting. Him move, but that seems bizarre too.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, England's very permissive when it comes to religions, but they're also, it's also the home of Richard Dawkins, and it's also like one of the most skeptical places as far as religion goes. And in going down a bit of a Wikipedia rabbit hole on this, I've seen lots of instances when, even though Scientology has a fairly strong foothold in England, they've run into a lot of legal troubles over the years being recognized as a capital R religion. Yeah.
They used to have, I don't know if it's still there, they used to have a big headquarters on Tottenham Court Road. Have you ever seen that?
When I first moved here, I came out of the train station one day and was like, oh, here, we're right here. Scientology's right here. I remember where I lived in Chicago had one too, but you would never see any humans around there.
Yeah.
Not even like passing out pamphlets or anything. So I do remember that and being handed a pamphlet and being like, wow, congrats for keeping it going, you grifters.
I am just Googling this, and I'm on the Scientology homepage.
Careful.
Do you hear that? This is a very old video.
Is it like a volcano erupting? Is it like an old TV commercial of selling you Dianetics?
It's like an opening of it's opening of Church of Scientology London, but it says it's from 2006, and it says it's on Queen Victoria Street. Maybe I was wrong about Tottenham Court Road.
They definitely had a building or an office West Endish.
Yeah.
Well, farewell to Tom. At the end of the day, it was nice having you. It was nice not knowing you were here. And it's a shame that all the revenue that you generated with your staff is going to go away. We're just going to have to hope that we get another celebrity to take your place.
I think he's going to come back. Don't get me wrong here. I think maybe he hasn't left for good. Maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part. I don't want him to leave.
Come back to us, Tom.
I sort of don't want the this is one of, and again, I think we've alluded to this, a litany of stories about crime in London, which sort of exaggerate crime in London, often tie it to migration. Not of Americans. We're not the ones doing the crimes, according to the right-wing press. It's a political operation. I don't think we probably need to sort of belabor this point. Other podcasts are available that do this. But, it's a weird political...
It's interesting, how safe do you feel in the streets of London? This is a question I've been asked by Americans back home,
right?
In comparison to Chicago, and it's interesting to have like the home media, drumming up this fear. It seems like a bit of an own goal, as the Brits would say, to be publicizing, like, look how dangerous it is in the city you live.
Not only is the crime rates generally higher in any American city, you also have I don't know, maybe ICE agents wandering around your city, just kidnapping people, like shooting them and stuff. I wonder why.
Yeah, there's that,
people
man.
Feel safer here in London. Okay, so moving on. Moving on to the subject of fascism. I noticed a very interesting story about a guy named Michael Graves. Are you a Misfits fan?
No, man. Was that the one with the Glenn Danzig was in?
Glenn Danzig started Misfits. I was never into the Misfits. I feel like I missed something here. But anyway,
to me, they're just a very popular T-shirt.
Yeah. Glenn Danzig started the original. This guy, Michael Graves, was the sort of reincarnation of Glenn Danzig. I mean, not that he's dead or whatever, but like...
it would work with the mythology of...
He was the singer after Danzig left, and the whole band got sort of rebooted in a kind of, I don't know...
cash grab?
Nakedly capitalistic way, yes.
Okay.
In the last 10 to 20 years, he has actually been more well known for calling himself a conservative punk. Which is fine, whatever. Punks.
There's a history of that.
Enjoy all sort of things, libertarians, the Gavin McInnes crew. But no, actually, he's kind of like McInnes has sort of crossed the line here. He was at the Capitol riot and is a member of the Proud Boys, reportedly, and is on a UK tour in the next couple of weeks. I dug into this after I saw a Reddit post about it, and you can look up my Substack, Day of Reckoning, the Day of Reckoning at .substack.com.
Good.
Where
plug something that's not 15 years old.
I just wrote this yesterday. It's very fresh. I did a bit of digging. I contacted the record label. They did not want to talk to me. This tour is going ahead. The record label does say that 8 dates have been canceled already. In several places, including in Pittsburgh and I believe San Francisco, this guy has already had dates canceled. He tends to play for Proud Boys. I don't know what his audience is here, but other than a club called The Underworld in Camden, which is a pretty notable music venue, it looks like he's just playing a bunch of bars and random places throughout the country. Difficult for me to sort of know what the fan base is, whether the people are coming out for like Proud Boy reasons, but I would assume that like his politics attract perhaps more people than his music these days.
So yeah, if you liked the Tommy Robinson rally, come back for the Michael Graves show.
Yeah, it's like horrorcore metal, but like with
fascist overtones.
Fascist overtones, more than just naked fascism.
Okay.
I will update you and listeners and everybody else if something goes down, because this is sure to attract some more attention and potentially some protests and some cancellations.
you know me, I'm more interested in, you know, checking out the Jeff Tweedy gig at the Islington Town Hall in a couple weeks, man. I keep it real granola.
Do you have tickets for that?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm on Twickets, and I could get some if I can clear my schedule. Good old Jeff.
I'm sure he's charging a pretty penny.
It's not the worst, but yeah, no, it's not great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, you can report back on that gig. I'll report back on Michael Graves not being the Misfits doing a fascist Roman salute. I don't know. Right. I have a story here.
Okay.
Because I had to get a document notarized, right? Look, make a long story short, it's tax season. There's paperwork involved. It's very annoying. It's very time consuming. You have to do it for two countries. But it made me sort of research, like, what would I do to get this American document notarized? And that called to mind the constant questions that I see on the message boards and also in sort of real life from American expats over here. And it's like, there's a very specific categories. Oh, what should I do about my phone? How do I keep my phone number in the U.S.? What should I do about a bank account? None of these banks appear to take American customers. And then just all the sort of normal things of your sort of digital and financial life. So I thought we would maybe discuss a little bit about the apps and their equivalents here. Venmo in the United States, Venmo me some money, right? Very easy, simple way.
Yep.
To do that.
With the hilarious, you know, social media feed aspect of it, where people who don't hide their transactions allow you to see that they've, you know, given their buddy $10 for pizza.
Absolutely horrific. And then people started to turn it off. And like, if you look at their feed, then you can kind of see their transactions, but only up to like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's all these like really inappropriate things. I mean, I haven't looked up any sort of coworkers or friends or their transactions. People just tell me this.
It lets you know about, you know, what your friends are doing socially. You're like, oh, I didn't get invited to go see that movie.
Everybody makes the same joke. It's like sex and drugs. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, here's $10 for that blowjob. When really it was like, you know,
a cocktail.
You know, exactly. In this country, though, there's a much more private system that people use to shift money. It's Monzo. It's very easy to get. It's actually a sort of a decent, I guess, banking app.
Yeah.
And that's how people send money. Monzo me, mate.
I actually, our guest Sasha like hit me to a thing. This is, you know, if you don't know, if you're an American expat who goes back home every once in a while, who like me no longer has an American bank account, this is a useful piece of information. Monzo, when you're in the States and you use your Monzo card for a transaction, will not hit you with the currency exchange fee that your normal UK bank credit or debit card would hit you with. And so it's like, is like 7% of the transaction, or probably far less, but nonetheless, previous times I would go back home for a visit to the States and come back and be like, oh, I used my UK card the whole time and look at all these little fees I got with, and that really adds up. And this past time I went, I just loaded my Monzo card with a bunch of pounds and then used it in the States, and it just they just did whatever the exchange rate was that day, and then no additional fees. So that's until they wise up and put some fees on it, for me that's a very good way to not have to get traveler's checks or anything like that when I'm back in the States.
Traveler's checks. What year is it?
Yeah.
No, you're totally right. Like you got to find one of these, and that's a very easy one to use. You do not want to pay fees when you're going back. Um,
Getting a bank account, I remember that being tough, and that was 2008. So I guess for me, so woof, if you're just coming here now and you need to start a bank account, and what are they asking you for? I haven't researched this at all, Mike.
No, neither have I. But and I don't want to. Maybe this is a future. We are not paid to say this, but Monzo seems to be pretty easy to get. Like you say, international. There's a company called Wise that I use. They give you bank accounts in various currencies, which is useful. Again, no fees. There are other banks out there that have international bank accounts, but you do have to watch out because of U.S. law. A lot of Americans seem sort of both baffled and frustrated by this, which I don't really blame them. Many actually British banks and financial institutions just will not accept American customers. Sounds a bit weird, We've got all this money that we want to give them, loads and loads of money, but they don't want to take it. It's a regulatory issue and nightmare. But those companies, you should be able to find something out there. There are banks who do it and financial institutions that do it. You pointed out that people don't use Craigslist for their buying and selling and casual encounters and all that other stuff that you do as a Craigslist.
Or what else? Apartments and what else do you use Craigslist for in the States? Selling your car, buying a dodgy used car. You know what the one you said casual encounters, but you know what they used to have, maybe they still do, was the missed connections on Craigslist, where you would just be like, I saw you on the red line at 4:00 on Thursday and we flirted, but then I didn't get your number. Maybe you'll see this, like, just stuff that used to be in the back of the Chicago Reader, but that migrated to Craigslist. But anyway, Craigslist doesn't so much exist here. So if you're like moving to London and you need some cheap furniture, or you're like desperate for I'm just looking for any employment, I think Craigslist maybe does operate here, but not in a way that anyone uses it. So
it's just not very popular.
Gumtree, brother. Gumtree is the equivalent to get your stuff and sell your bike, that sort of thing.
You've reminded me. I've been meaning to buy a bicycle, and that's the way to go. Definitely not eBay. You'll end up with all sorts of weird stuff going on there. You had another.
Facebook Marketplace, people use that too, but again, we're trying not to support that.
Oof. Also, that's just like a cesspool.
What was that? I had.
Okay, so yes, this is something that I haven't sort of dipped my toe into. The Depop versus Vinted.
Oh, yeah. So recently, I've been venting. I've been on Vinted, and I was like, and this is only something that I've come to recently in life, and I wondered what the American equivalent was, and then I Googled what is the equivalent, and there's multiple sites, but Depop seeming to be the hottest one for getting rid of your old fashion and collector's items and stuff like that. So. If you're new here and I've used Vinted to get some oddball things that my daughter wanted, or I needed some specific garments for work and didn't want to pay retail. So and then recently I was feeling the love for my hometown NBA team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I found a Cavs scarf on Vinted, real cheap. Bought it. It's got the Cavs colors, wine and gold. Yeah, that's what we call ourselves. We're the wine and gold, which is basically like burgundy and yellow, and it's like a stripy scarf. And so I was rocking this, my Cavaliers scarf, stripy burgundy and yellow with the Cavs crest on the bottom. And I got accused of wearing a Gryffindor scarf, and I had to do a whole anti-Rowling rant to make people understand that this is not a Gryffindor. This is not an anti-trans scarf, bro. I don't support her or her books, which I did read, but I regret that time. So now every time this Cavs scarf, which I really liked, now I'm a little bit like skeptical about wearing it.
Defensive about it. I mean,
so defensive.
I think I can separate J.K. I mean, I find the books sort of like very long and tedious, so I'm not like super into them, but I can also separate my reading them to my children from the current person who J.K. Rowling is, who's reprehensible, who's pretty crazy, and had to deny recently that she invited Jeffrey Epstein to the premiere of one of her stage plays based on her IP, which just shows how like crazy you get when you get rich and famous. Let's not continue that. But you can kind of see, though, people might have the colors are the same, aren't they?
Yeah. This was a hard week for me, Mike. It's NBA trade season, and I think I've spoken about this on the pod before because of my allegiance to the National Basketball Association and the games starting late at night. For 8 to 9 months out of the year, it messes with my sleep pattern. So basically my whole life. And this week, my favorite player got traded. This is always rough. It was, trade deadline craziness when, for some reason, the NBA in its soap opera aspect chooses to shuffle 10% of their players around one week of the season, and my favorite player Darius Garland got traded from Cleveland to the LA Clippers, and now I don't even know what to do with myself, and I guess my Darius Garland jersey, I just had to sell that on Vinted now. So
at least you know where to go.
Are you doing the Super Bowl this weekend? It is the Super Bowl this very weekend.
I'm
Are
literally
you going to?
Most years I will stay up and watch the beginning, but this year I'm just like, nah, I'm done. Don't even hate the teams involved enough to get in there. I will probably watch the highlights the next day. Bad Bunny is going to be interesting. Kendrick Lamar, I think, was last year, and
right. So this is the second year in a row that the NFL. Well, Kendrick Lamar was the highlight last. Well, I don't know. Maybe the game was okay. I divorced the NFL a long time ago.
I guess the game was. Oh no, it was
but
like a
yeah,
blowout.
This is the second year in a row the NFL.
Lost. That was good, but it was a blowout. The game was boring.
Okay. So yeah, we're obviously rooting for Seattle just because Seattle's cool and the Patriots are owned by Robert Kraft, so they have enough titles. Go Seattle. But yeah, this is the second year in a row that they've chosen that, the NFL, who is not the most progressive of the major sports leagues, has chosen a musical hero who is going to rankle conservatives to perform at the halftime show. And Bad Bunny just won Album of the Year at the Grammys. And Ice Out was the first words of his acceptance speech. It's sure to be provocative. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the highlights of that. His album that won Album of the Year was terrific. So
it should be very interesting. It should be very interesting, and how political he gets or not, that's always a question. And the game will probably suck. Let's be honest. Right.
I hope so.
Did you?
I hope it's 42-10 for the Seahawks. Let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything on your cultural radar? Do you have any relevant recos this week?
No, man. I would have put it in the breakdown, Mike. You just calling me out for not preparing.
No. I wanted to give you the opportunity. I feel like I have been very I've been very sort of British. I don't want to give anything out here myself, so I'm not bringing anything to the party.
Okay.
I will say I've been rereading Oliver Twist. It doesn't really have anything to do with Americans, but it does have to do with my American British child who's doing it in school, and I thought I would read it alongside him because I haven't read it since high school or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's 12
The
years
older
old.
or the younger?
The younger one.
Okay.
But they're doing the sort of, I don't think they're actually reading the thing. You know what I mean? They're doing that sort of watered down version.
Oh, like a abridged?
Yeah, and they're like I think it's the play. I think it's like the stage play that they're reading.
Oh, with an exclamation point, Oliver. I'd do anything.
Probably, yeah. I don't know if they sing. Maybe they sing. I don't know. The kid would probably love singing. I mean, it's interesting to sort of I bring this up because it's interesting to sort of compare what they get taught in American schools versus British schools, and we have had to. I think it was a very good experience for them to be in America for a while and learn about American history and sort of the way they teach things in an American school. There's definitely a few gaps that my children are trying to overcome. Like when you look at like sort of the history and social studies? What do they call social studies these days? That kind of subject matter. Those things are very different, obviously, because they're very sort of regionalized and local. My youngest could talk about the Native American tribes of Illinois to a pretty fine degree at some point. Not something that you're going to get taught in London.
Right. Yeah, but my kid, who's 6, got spent a lot of time, doing the Great Fire of London this year and Sammy Pepys and stuff that was outside of my frame of reference. Interesting, Oliver, because I read Christmas Carol to my daughter around Christmas time, and as has been discussed, Michael Caine on this program. But yeah, there was definitely like me doing footnotes about poorhouses and let the excess population die, said Scrooge. So yeah, Oliver's orphanages and the Artful Dodger and all that stuff might require some back in this particular era, was it Victorian era? I don't know my history. You might end up having to explain something to an American or a British child about these great works of literature and the socioeconomic backgrounds of them.
Absolutely.
And no, Dobby is not there.
The anti-Semitism is crazy. I mean, Fagin.
Fagin, yeah.
Like he's just calling him like the ugly Jew. Like literally, he's like the Jew, and he's like with his hook nose and all this other stuff. It's insane. It's off the chart. So hopefully, thankfully, I mean, the sanitized modern played. Stage play version is the one that's going on here.
When the Magic Faraway Tree film comes out later this year with Andrew Garfield, we can talk about that book series and the sanitizations that have taken place.
I'm not so familiar with that one, but we should definitely cover that.
Me neither, but I learned all about it when my wife pulled out her old copy and started reading it to my daughter, and I was like, actually, Wikipedia says that's the old version, and the characters' names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Curious. Right. All right. I think that's it. We're going to be back. We're going to have some more guests. We have not ended the guest adventure here. We're just lining them up here. Some interesting people to talk to.
Just taking a break. Yeah, but don't forget, if you have listened this far, peoples, if you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, give us some time to do some research and line up our personal stories about it. shoot us an email. If you've got a recommendation for a guest or want to present to yourself as a guest, you feel like you have an interesting angle on life in Britain as an American expat, send us an email. Send us an email to colddarkmiserablepod@gmail.com. And, hey,
Please
share this
email us.
podcast. Give us a great rating. Subscribe on your channel of choice.
Yes, please do. 5 stars. If it's a 5-star rating.
No, 5-star even if it's not. This is what I've learned from Vinted.
No, I
Like,
mean,
even
if it's 10, give us 10. You know, the max.
Right. Oh, I see. Based on whatever the scale is, yeah.
Great. Wow. That's it.
I don't know, Mike. I had this idea that maybe we could keep making the show more practical based and try to pull the politics out of it. And so, what if
we try, don't we? You
Yeah.
know?
So
we don't want
what
to
if
be political, but we always.
What if we pulled the politics out of the main body of the show, and we isolated them in musical form, in a potential theme song?
Oh, okay. What do you think?
What do you think?
Well, yeah.
Well, let me just. I just workshopped a little something.
All right.
So
let's hear it.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to use a piano this time because that didn't work out too well. Here we go. 2, 3. Ding ding diddly diddly ding. Ding, ding. I'm anxious on the streets of London, but I'm anxious about the streets of Minneapolis. I wonder on my podcast, could my homeland be sane again? Will there be truth and reconciliation, or even midterm elections? What's with all these crazy right-wingers? Even your favorite old lead singers. See what I did there? Bow, bow, da bow, bow, da bow, bow. Impeach Pam Bondi. Rescue the tainted DOJ, because the prosecutions they are handing down, and like the shakedowns of blue state voter rolls, are nothing that I would call justice, and barely a department. Save the DOJ, save the DOJ, save the DOJ. Children's chorus. Save the DOJ, save the DOJ, save the DOJ. Save the DOJ, save the DOJ, save the DOJ.